Ntate Masipa,
Vamshad.
Little in that.
Restitution of Land Rights.
Our own.
No,
Requalina.
no, I'm shadow molo, another. Thank you.
Ntate Matias, Dumel. Mundwedi. Appropriate 200. Appropriate 200. Molo kama. Kunjani kama?
Oh, lo molo solvelile.
Uphelele kama.
Kuyaphileka solvelile akho. Kunjani kuni?
Siyaphila bawukhaya kabi khona. Basaphila abo bantu bahle kulomzi.
Abayaphila nango nyapho incumile enhlamba.
Ubaxelele uba siyabathanda abo bantu bahlale becube ngolo hlobo.
Bayakuva solvelile.
Enkosi bawukhaya. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to get this session off the ground so we can proceed with our work that is cut out for us today. Let me therefore acknowledge the honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends that are in attendance. We have received the apologies from the executive to the state visits that His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa has embarked on in West Africa, as he will be visiting a number of countries in West Africa. For our Honorable Minister, Umamodideza, is accompanying him on the trip. Our Deputy Minister Squacha is off sick, gone to see the doctor. And our Deputy Minister Umamukapa has a bereavement at home. We therefore send our condolences to her family and the loved ones for their loss. Honorable members, we have with us Honorable Kai, a member of the Select Committee in the NCOP, National Council of Provinces, who is attending with us today. Kai, welcome to our Portfolio Committee meeting on agriculture, land reform and rural development. Let me also take this opportunity, honorable members, to welcome the District 6 Working Committee and the District 6 claimants that have made their submissions. I would also like to welcome the acting DG, the Honorable DG Ntate Ramasodi is also booked off sick, and therefore Mesadik will be standing in as the acting DG. Welcome to you, Mamusadiki, as well as the officials of the department that are accompanying her, as we are to deal with presentations centered in and around our agenda for today. I would like to also welcome the Land Claims Commission, who is also in attendance with the officials of the CLCC. Honorable members, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all today to our virtual session of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. We are pleased that there has been progress that has been tabled today by the department and the CLCC, which relate to the progress on the District 6 land claims in particular. At this juncture, honorable members, you would recall that we had an engagement that we had with the District 6 land claims community, having had the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Umamuti Diza, having issued a statement that all District 6 land claims had been completed. We then invited the claimants to come to a session so that they could also attest to this. And in the session that we had almost about 14 complainants that came before us, that being Mrs. J. Mohammed, Mr. L. Kaida, Mr. Sali Sekote, Ms. Asa Sali, Rahmat Martin, Sali Sekot, Latif Kaida, Rasida Ridley, Anissa Clark, TJC Dan attorneys, Kenneth Wayne, Hussein Khatid, Zahra Nordin of the District 6 Working Committee, Karen Beitenbach, and Nasser Davids. Of all of them came to make their submissions. And ours was simply to ascertain if there were any land claims that had been submitted pre-1998, which had not been processed. And we then enabled those that felt that their claims had not been processed to make submissions, so that we can bring them to the attention of the department as well as the CLCC. We are therefore, honorable members, especially delighted to hear of the progress in this District 6 as well as Worcester Land Claims settlement, particularly of the elders, the infirm, and especially needs category. District 6, honorable members, still remains a gaping wound in the psyche of our people, as the traumatic impact of the forced removals and destruction of their social and spiritual space will be with us for generations to come. It is to the credit of our government that we have embraced the wisdom in dealing with such sensitive matters. The report before us outlines the criteria, rationale, and methodology for arriving at a well-considered solution. However, honorable members, these things always require wisdom in the implementation process. For example, we have found that one of the senior citizens who was settled in a ground floor unit also suffered arthritis and hence was in immense pain due to the cold emanating from the water pipes passing through her unit. We have achieved the goal of restitution and the provisions of special needs that we have made allowance for however we sometimes don't get it right. Let me take this opportunity, therefore, honorable members, to thank the executive as led by the Honorable Minister, Mahmoud Diza, the DG and the officials of the department, whom today are led by the acting DG, Mahmoud Sadiki, the entire officials of the CLCC as led by the Land Claims Commissioner, Umamu Gobodo, who are contributing to making progress in this important area of delivery. Your efforts are commendable, and any shortcoming is just an opportunity for us to learn from. As long as our hearts are open to the plight and the needs of our people, especially our elders and those with special needs, we are on the right trajectory. We cannot recreate District 6 and its beautiful, dynamic cultural diversity, but we can indeed do all in our power to effect restorative justice. And perhaps for some of our elders, we can put a twinkle in their eyes in the twilight years of their lives. We are also, honorable members, receiving today a presentation tabling the progress in the Worcester Land Claims, also on the Rietfontein Farm dwellers, as well as the progress report on the National Red Meat Custom Feedlot. Development program. Yes, the development program, which will enable us to gain more an in-depth understanding of the red meat industry. Honorable members, we do also have 2 sets of minutes which we need to dispense on, but being the minutes of the 16th as well as the 23rd of November 2021, as today will be our last sitting for the year 2021. We trust, therefore, our deliberations today will be fruitful and constructive. Let me therefore welcome you all onto this virtual meeting of the Portfolio Committee on Agricultural and Reform and Rural Development. I will therefore invite the Department of Agricultural and Reform and Rural Development as led by the acting DG, Mr. Sadiki. You may proceed, and we will ask on your behalf to get Ralph to flight the presentation. Acting DG.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, DM.
Excuse me for
Mr. Squatcher. I see you are been able to get onto the platform.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Excuse me for intervening. I am not going to really waste your time. I saw you had not noticed that I was on the platform. I would like to echo your sentiments. Start by greeting you, Chair, members of the Portfolio Committee, and most importantly, the claimants from the District 6 community. I would not want to waste time. I think you have made adequate comments about District 6 and its history. I really would like to say that since this is the last sitting of the year, that I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development to appreciate the path traveled over this particular year in the most challenging and navigating cross-examination from your good selves. All this done only with the best intention of positioning and placing our country in a better space, in a better position. And so, Chairperson, we are here today to come and present to your good selves the issues that you have asked of us, the issues that have been raised by the people we are serving in our country. In the meantime, being the people of District 6 and all the other issues that are on the agenda. I really would like to say to the Portfolio Committee that you do lead, that we appreciate working together, because as we work together, we can sharpen the tools of creating an ideal society for our country. With those few words, I think you have already explained that the acting DG will be leading us at a particular stage. I would ask for leave of absence to address the select committee. But for now, thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, and over to our acting DG. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Deputy Minister, the Honorable Squatter. Mamusa Diki, let us hand over to you, and you can assist us to navigate through the presentation. Can you unmute your microphone, Mesa Diki?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you, Chair, and to the members, the DM and the team from the department that has accompanied me this morning to make this presentation to your good selves. I am not alone. I am with the team led by the CLCC, and they will be the ones that will be taking the presentation, Chair. And therefore, I would love, with your permission, Chair, to hand over to the CLCC.
Mamukoboto.
Good morning to you, Honorable Chair. I hope I am audible.
You are audible, Mamla. You may proceed.
And to the members of the Portfolio Committee, to our Minister, the Acting DG, colleagues, and to the claimant community, good morning. And I am going to be presenting this presentation on behalf of the Commission. I am accompanied by the Provincial Head of the Western Cape, Dr. Wayne Alexander, who is here with his team as well. They will be assisting me take questions. Further, Dr. Alexander will respond to the specific list of individuals that the Honorable Chair made reference to on the specifics of the issues. Can I request that Ralph assist me to flight the presentation so that I can start?
Recording in progress.
Ralph, for the presentation. Thank you very much.
The presentation is visible. You can proceed, Mamukopot.
Chair, I hope that my network is not slow, so perhaps to hurry things up, I will switch off my camera. Thank you very much.
You can proceed, Mamukobot. Mr. Dick, Mamukobot just left the platform. Can we be assisted as to who's gonna take charge in her absence? Tate Alexandra, is there anyone who's going to take charge of the presentation?
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson, Deputy Minister and Honourable Members, Acting DG and colleagues, and importantly the claimants and the committees. I will continue with the presentation, Chair, if it's fine with you.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you very much. So slide 1, as you've cited already, it's about looking at the District 6 Phase 3, an update and the progress that's since been made. We will then also speak very briefly to the Tramway Road claim, with specific to reference L181 and the Worcester New Order claims. The next slide, please. So just as you've already cited the history, Chair, and there's a wealth of information regarding the background. In this regard, we're looking at Phase 3, which we've now called Phase 3, that 108 dwellings premised on a primary criteria of date of lodgement, as well as special needs. We looked at that, looking, as you've also earlier cited, the importance of special needs, old age, indigence, and health infirmity. And based on that criteria, 2 broad criteria, we came up with the 108 names for only the 108 dwellings that we currently have, cognizant of the fact, Chair, that we still need to home 954 plus claimants. 2 panels were set up, Chair. The one looked at the special needs application processes, and the one specially looked at the issue of appeals that were tabled post the selection of the special needs people. And then the office itself looked at the list and based on date of lodgement contributed to the final recommendation of 108 names of the 108 dwellings. Next slide, please. So as I've said before, Chair, the independent panel used the ODI, that's the originally dispossessed individual, as the main criteria. They then proceeded with that process. They shortlisted and then interviewed possible claimants. After that, Chair, the claimants were informed, and they were then allowed to appeal if the case. And we received overall, Chair, 156 special needs applications, and 34 appeals were made after people were informed of the outcomes of the application, particularly for special needs. So that's the timeline that I've just cited there, Chair. I'm not going into in great detail, but we started obviously in 2020. The application process closed in December. We then proceeded with the special needs application, and the panel was made of the provincial government, a member from the Human Settlements Department, a colleague from the City of Cape Town, a colleague from the Cape Town Interfaith Initiative, which is basically operates with with different religious leaders in District 6, the Chief Officer of our National Department, and also a member of the National Commission. The panel chair went through quite a rigorous process, and they finalized their terms of reference towards the end of March. Next slide, please. Again, that's the timeline, and I won't bore the people, but just to say that after quite a few months, we then informed the claimants in June 2021 of the outcomes. Next slide, please. So the allocation process from an administrative point of view, Chair, we started therefore in June on the 18th to be specific, where we invited the successful applicants or the successful returnees to come view the show houses that were made available. And the claimants were then asked to either accept or reject the unit, noting that some, as you cited earlier, had some concerns around the typology. However, later you would pick up that the majority accepted the dwellings, and based on the typology and the layout of the units, we then gave the row housings were then, because of the individual orphans, were given to those that were owners at the time of disposition in District 6. Next slide, please. Okay, so to date, Chair, as I've said, 88 have already accepted the dwellings. We do have some issues with family disputes that we assisting to mediate and resolve these matters, Chair. But once that's all sorted, people would then obviously be able to move in. However, that will obviously be based on, and I'm sure my colleague from the department that's in discussion with the city on some technical issues will make reference to when we would ready to move in the people. But safe to say that 88 at this stage have accepted the dwellings, with 20 families still involved in some family issues. Next slide, please. So some of the challenge that we picked up, Chair, obviously was the issue around the design and typology, where people are concerned about the fact that there are staircases and that the incline of walking up to their specific dwellings, etc. However, it should be noted, Chair, that this was discussed previously with committees, but also they shared the information with the relevant claimants, and the typology was accepted, and hence the kind of structure that we now have. And the main concern, as you've earlier also cited, was the issue around the staircases and the incline that people need to walk to get to the dwellings. But like I said, the majority have already accepted the dwellings, and very happy, I need to say. There were 2 claimants that rejected the offer, citing that they'd rather wait for the ensuing phases, and one wanting to get his portion of land back, but ever that was explained to him in terms of how this claim was settled. Okay, so we've gone through the processes of where settlement agreements have since been signed, Chair, and it had also been signed in the presence of the RLCC, and we have also then explained to people the reasons for the settlement agreement that should be signed, and the processes that should be followed. We had a plan for handing over the keys, Chair, and we obviously communicated that initially to the claimants. However, because of some technical issues, we could not proceed with moving in the people. So to date, we are waiting the occupational certificates for those homes in order for us to therefore move in the people into the dwellings that they have since accepted. Okay, so again, I've spoken about the keys, and so once all the structural issues have been attended to, Chair, we'll be able to receive the keys and hand it over to the claimants. But safe to say, Chair, there's been regular discussions with the city regarding the certificates, and my colleague later will, with the technical expertise, will speak to what processes are currently followed, Chair. And we also want to say that obviously people are quite concerned and anxious about when they can move in and what's happening. So we've been fielding lots of inquiries and allaying some of the concerns of people, Chair. Whilst also because of some family disputes around who should ultimately get the dwelling, we have also been assisting these claimants to mediate some of these matters. Next slide, please. So this mainly, Chair, there have been the questions around when people will get their title deeds, but I think all those other challenges that I've already mentioned, once that's all sorted, Chair, we'll be able to facilitate this. We've already been in touch with the deeds office. A state attorney will act as the conveyancy. All those processes are in place, Chair. And once we've sorted out and we've received all the necessary go ahead and the certificates, we would then be able to make the necessary transfers to the successful claimant. Next slide, please. Chair, so maybe I don't know if you want me to hold on there, because that's basically in keeping with what you wanted, some issues specific to District 6. And I could therefore, if it's fine with you, maybe speak to the specific 14 issues which you mentioned at the beginning, Chair.
Thank you, Ntade Alexandra. You may speak to the issues I raised earlier on, but we would like to also afford you an opportunity to speak to the rest of the presentation, because it only enlightens us and empowers us to gain more understanding in the work that the Commission is doing and the department is doing in and around these land claims. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Chair. So I will, before I go on to the Trambo issue, I will then speak to the issue of Mrs. J. Mohammed, which you mentioned earlier. And in this regard, Chair, Mrs. Mohammed is what we call a new order claim. So all references, claim reference numbers that starts with an R, based on the way we categorize these claims on new order claims, Chair. And as you and the committee are fully aware, that we are unable to process these claims until we get a right to way from Parliament, and also then supported by the Constitutional Court. So until that processes have been sorted, Chair, the new order claims have been put on hold. And so we're just awaiting the go-ahead for the reopening of those land claims. So Mrs. J. Mohammed, according to our records, is a new order claimant, Chair, and they have been notified regularly in terms of correspondence that have been shared with them. Chair, if I may ask Mr. Ralph maybe to just call up the list, because we did give it to him, or would you be fine for me just to continue? Okay, I'll continue, Chair. And then the other category of the complaints that we received speaks to the issues of repairs and maintenance, which is specific to phase 2, Chair. To my knowledge, Chair, thanks very much. We had spoken to the trust, and I need to say before my time, that there was a condition that was stipulated. And the condition was very clear that if there are latent effects within a period of time, the department, in collaboration with the contractor at the time and the trust, would look into how they could fix that. However, that period would only last for 5 years. And in this case, Chair, with regard to some of the inquiries that your office has since received, specific to Mr. Al-Qaeda, Mr. Sapoti. I'm just going through the list, Chair, and Mr. Kenneth Wynn. They all have lodged their concerns around some of the latent defects, but the 5-year period has since come and gone, and therefore it's up to the actual owner to ensure maintenance and repairs to their specific dwelling. And this was communicated, Chair, to people and to the trust by my colleague that held this position before. And I know Mr. Katip, who is the project officer on District 6, particularly with regard to the buildings and the design, has also communicated this with the relevant returnees of District 6. If I move on to the letter, the complaint received, or should I rather say the inquiry received from Mrs. Asa Sali. I'm pleased to say that Mrs. Asa Sali is a regular, regularly corresponds and communicates with us as the chairperson of the Civic Association, and we continually talk about stuff. And so she's been informed around what's happening, and I know she wrote a letter regarding the issue of special needs versus the issue of date of lodgement. The process was explained to her, and she obviously has very strong opinions. And however, given all that, Chair, we regularly communicate, because at the end of the day, Mr. Sali always makes the point that it's in the interest of the District 6 community. So there's been a regular communication and discussion with Mrs. Sali, who is the chairperson of the Civic Association. Then with regard to Mrs. Rahmat Martin, Chair, and that's the one where you cited the claimant's concern around the pipes and etc., water flow, emergency exits, etc. We've consulted Mrs. Rahmat Martin, and we looked at various aspects and again discussed the issue of the apology. And I'm happy to say that Mrs. Martin has accepted the dwelling, and this process was concluded on the 12th of November 2021. Then again, I've spoken about, I've grouped the disputes, the repairs and maintenance already, which included Latif Kader, etc. The next person on the matrix, even may call it, is Rasida Ridley, Chair. And in this regard, Mrs. Ridley was allocated to dwelling based on a special needs application. She was interviewed and offered a dwelling. She came to view the dwelling, but was not pleased with the fact that she got a dwelling initially that meant her having to walk some stairs. She felt that she should really get a freestanding dwelling. We explained to her the criteria, and after lots of intervention, me twice talking to her, also with an intervention by the Office of Minister, we now just awaiting for Ms. Rasida Reddy to acknowledge whether she's going to accept the dwelling in this phase or not. I think it's important to note here, we often tell people that if they don't want this dwelling in this phase, remember there are ensuing phases, and if they aren't on the redeveloper list, they will get a dwelling. With regard to G162, Ms. Vanessa Clark, this claim was lodged in 1996, Chair, and the claim was settled already. It was settled in the year 2000, and this family will be getting a dwelling in the ensuing phases. Mr. Dunn, Chair, is the representative of the Advocacy Committee. Now, the Advocacy Committee is one of the many committees that operate in District 6, and they basically represent the homeowners, people who were homeowners at the time of dispossession. We have had meetings with them before, Chair, and I think it's important to note that in the letter that they've written to you, Chair, there is this willingness to work with us. So we want to appreciate the willingness of the Advocacy Committee to work with the department to expedite and finalize the District 6 matter. So that's the representative of the Advocacy Committee. Mr. Kenneth Wynne, it's part of that category, maintenance and repairs. I won't repeat that issue, Chair. Mr. Hussein Khatib is on the list. Mr. Hussein Khatib is a member, official of the department, who is the project manager for District 6, who deals with all the technical issues and has been in touch with the claimants and with regard to these issues of maintenance, but more importantly, involved with the design and structure of the dwellings. The next person is Sarah Noordin. She is the chairperson of the District 6 Working Committee Chair, and also safe to say that I have regular interaction with her. And they do receive the quarterly court report regularly, in keeping with the court order, noting that the working committee is the committee that took the department to court. And so in keeping with some of the outcomes, we need to, on a quarterly basis, compile a report and share it with the working committee and all interested parties. So we have regular discussions with Mrs. Noordin, and so she's fully au fait with current developments in District 6. Karen Breitenbach is not necessarily a claimant or returnee, but a member of the working committee, and similarly also have access to the report. Now, Isha Davids, Chair, has been in touch. I was personally in touch with her regarding the issue of her mother-in-law, who's the regionally dispossessed individual. She claims that she unfortunately wasn't aware of the special needs implication. I explained to her what the processes that we had followed, and that she would have to be in touch with the head of legal, Mr. Ben Mars, so that we could resolve some of the issues. But we also informed her that it doesn't mean that if they did not get a dwelling in this phase, that they're not going to get a dwelling in the ensuing phases. So that process, Chair, was also discussed with the Chair. That is in response to the list. I've obviously just grouped it accordingly, so that people have some understanding of where we're at with some of their concerns. But Chair, in keeping with the spirit of continuous communication, these claimants and these committees know that they are more than welcome to always be in touch with the office. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Alexandra. You may proceed with the rest of the presentation that you had earlier on, but we will also request that this particular presentation or responses on the 14 complainants, you are able to furnish us with that those responses that you are speaking to for our own record purposes. But please proceed with the rest of the presentation as you were proceeding earlier.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just ask Ralph to display the presentation. Thank you so much, Ralph, and thank you, Chair. So this claim, Chair, was settled in the year 2001 already, Chair, and the claim was lodged on behalf of the Tramers community by Mr. Leonard Lips, Chair. At that stage, the approval of this claim for 30 households who opted for land restitution as the preferred restitution office, with some of those community members opting for financial compensation. Now Tramway Road, Chair, it's in Sea Point, so quite a prime land, and it's a road that many people of color lived and were obviously dispossessed. So the Tramway Trust that was developed and formed at the time played a very active role in the verification of the dispossessed families, Chair, and therefore presented the list of beneficiaries to the department as well to the members of that community. Next slide, please. So as I've said, Chair, so there are two groups that were on the list, those that opted for land restoration, or some opted for financial compensation. Mrs. Phillips, who's the mother of Mr. Phillips, received financial compensation, while Mr. Phillips, their name also appeared on the restoration list. As I've said earlier, the land was initially restored to the Tranmere Trust, but it was sold off to a developer, and the proceeds of the sales were distributed to the claimants, Chair, who opted for development. So Mr. Phillips has been in touch with our department since 2017, and our director of operations has told me that there's been regular interaction, and there's been an offer made to Mr. Phillips, and we basically at this stage, Chair, awaiting Mr. Phillips' response, either acceptance or reasons for not accepting, but an offer has been made to Mr. Phillips in order for us to finalize this matter. Thank you, Chair. The next slide, please. So the Worcester issue, Chair, they're mainly as new order claims, and I'm not going to go into the whole detail, but safe to say, until we are given the right to reopen the claims, we're unable to process the claims that were lodged between the 1st of July 2014 and the 27th of July 2016. And we have informed the claimants by letter regarding where we act in this regard, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity to share with you and the committee and Deputy Minister and the claimants as to our processes and where we are with some of these matters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Alexandra. Let me also thank the officials of the Land Claims Commission. CEO Mamu Koboto, the commissioner, has been coming in and out of the platform to network challenges. I do hope she's still logged in. Honorable members, there's the presentation on the District 6 land claims and the various phases as to how they've been dealing with the issues. I will now open the sessions for questions of clarity from the honorable members. I would plead with the rest of our guests on the platform that this session was simply for the honorable members to engage with the material and the issues that have been put forward by yourselves. We will at our time convene a meeting with all the District 6 complainants just to follow up with yourselves. So this particular session for today is for the portfolio committee members to be able to engage with the presentation and speak on your behalf as you've brought this matter to the committee. Honorable members, I will now open for discussions and questions of clarity on these issues. Honorable Klape.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I don't know if my network will carry me here, but I'm just registering my presence with video. Chair, let me welcome the progress report that has just been presented. And I'm taking from where you are just concluded that at some stage we will meet again with the claimants on this. I want to appreciate, Chair, the efforts that the department through their entity has done to address issues of District 6. I remember how shocked I was, if not we were, when we learned after the beautiful statement that that was not the case. Two is that PT, our laws and regulations always are a process. When we need to redress things that were not followed orderly when our people were dispossessed, no order was followed. Now we find ourselves now having to follow processes. We need to be orderly, which takes painfully just too long to redress this unfortunate situation of District 6. But I am going to have this to just ascertain, Chair, why on the issues of keys, people, there are 88 claimants that has accepted and only 20 keys has been received thus far. Who's holding the other 68 keys? Why are they can't have their keys and get into the houses at the moment? I'm talking about processes, Chair, because there's also an indication that the global settlement agreement between City of Cape Town and Department was only signed in October 2021. And I'm noticing, Chair, that each time we make follow-ups on progress reports, you will find that achievements or strides that has been made were made yesterday, as if it's just to calm the situation or whatever. Why does it take, why did it take long that you only signed in last month, the Department and City of Cape Town, whilst we met and put our matters to you to say, please address these things. And this goes to all these claimants that received or their issues were resolved last month or on the 12th of November. I'm sitting here and asking myself, why did it have to happen only now when we have to come to these meetings? Having said that, Chair, I'm noting the issue of the new order claims. It's something that there's a portfolio committee would have to help and see how do we deal with this? How do we go back to the department and together see what strategies can we use to get to the Constitutional Court to comply and they lift up the restrictions of new order claims. But Chair, like you said, we will meet with the claimants, especially those 14 ones, just for some feedback and see how more we can put emphasis on their matters. It will help, but in my conclusion, Chair, I think it will be proper if it's not done, that the committee or the CLS have a dedicated team that deals only with District 6 now and then, and this committee probably receive, if not frequent, more less frequent than that, at least quarterly, District 6 be on our item agenda, if not less than 3 months. But if we are not able, let every 3 months we receive reports and see how progress it is and see what else intervention is needed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Klape. Before I move on to the next honorable member, let me also ask all the complainants of District 6 to look into the chat box, and they can be able to pose their questions there on the chat box. And as honorable members, we will then be able to pick up those questions as they come onto the chat box, and we will include them in our questions as we are the public representatives, and we will include these questions in our sessions. So I therefore want to ask all the complainants to utilize the chat box to submit their questions so that we can ask those on their behalf. Honorable Steyn.
Thank you, Chairperson, and Chairperson, thank you also for bringing this very important and long outstanding issue to the portfolio. Chairperson, firstly, I would like to find out if the committee could be provided with the plan that was supposed to be developed. I see the court order said that the plan needs to be developed between the minister and the claimants. I assume such a plan was developed because I hear that there is a quarterly report that needs to be submitted. So if we can, as the committee, get the full plan and then, Chairperson, the quarterly reports that is supposed to be given to the minister, or I'm not sure who the report must go to, if it must be going to the minister or to the court on a quarterly basis, if this portfolio can get that. I think, Chair, that will give us a basis of at least, you know, where we are starting from. And then we can also monitor the progress on a quarterly basis. Then, Chairperson, I would like to find out whether the land where the housing development needs to happen for the district claimants, who does the land belong to? And I listened to an answer. There was something about a developer and land that was bought and whatever. I think we need more details also on that side of it, Chairperson, because it sounds to me like the land issue is holding up certain processes, and I think it's important that the committee understand that issue very well, Chair. And then whether any land was transferred to the claimants, or will only housing development be transferred to the claimants? Because I see one of the issues is the title deeds that were not handed over. So that details also need more attention from us. Then, Chair, I would like to find out if, or it sounded to me now at the last part of the presentation, that no compensation was paid yet, Chair, to any of the claimants. So it's not only the housing section that is held up, but it's also the monetary compensation that the claimants did not receive. So that would be my initial questions, Chairperson, but I really do think that the committee needs the full plan that needs to be submitted and that quarterly report so that we can be up to speed to what's going on, and we will need that before we meet with the claimants at the next meeting. Thank you, Chairperson, because I think it's important that we do meet as a committee with the claimants. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stein. Ntate Matiase.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, and greetings to fellow members of the committee and all other important people. Look, Honorable Chair, the District 6 land claim, it's an important historical matter, and what makes it important is its nature and its location in the history of resolving and the struggle to resolve the land question and to restore people's dignity by way of getting our people back to land. So it's a legacy matter of the new democratic government, and it shouldn't be taking this long, for more than 27 years, to be finally resolved. And it's paining that we still have teething issues that have not yet been finally resolved. It shouldn't be like that. And this then, with the complaints that have been brought to the committee by different claimants, brings to light the need to seriously look into this matter and to find ways of speedily resolving all outstanding matters. For that, I will propose and perhaps add on what other members have said, that there should be quarterly reports that the committee will receive from the department and all other important stakeholders. But that being said, in the beginning of the process of dealing with the matter, we had a tripartite agreement between the City of Cape Town, the our department for which we oversee and do oversight work, as well as the District 6 Beneficiary and Development Trust. I will propose that all the tripartite parties, at one point, the committee must meet with them and to find out from the foundation of this process, where could the problems lie? And if it is on the part of the City of Cape Town, or on the part of the department through the Commission on Restitution of Land Rights, or on the part of the District 6 Beneficiary and Development Trust, we get to deal with those issues at that level. In addition to all what has been proposed here, I propose that at some point we need to meet with the tripartite parties. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Tate Matiase. Memahlo, Tama.
Honorable Chair, good morning to you, Hoshiaka, and good morning to all members on the platform, including our Deputy Minister, Tate Squasha, and other members of the Portfolio Committee. Chairperson, I will fully agree with I will fully agree to welcome the presentation made by the department, but also fully agree with what the Honorable Member Hlape and Honorable Steyn and the latter speaker said, that indeed we need to make sure that we meet with the complainants at some stage, but also to have that report quarterly presented to us as the committee, so that we can be able to see as to whether we can be able to do monitoring and evaluation as to whether our move is moving with speed. Which is
Memahlo, you are intimate. Can you switch off your video? We can't hear you.
Where you find that our people, Chairperson, are still struggling. Yet we are here and being elected. Heads on the block that definitely will make sure that this thing it is taken into consideration with. Okay, can you hear?
Yes, it's much better.
It's off, Chair. My video is off.
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Let me just end my conversation. Thank you. Let me end my conversation by saying that I'm supporting the latter speakers on what they said, emphasizing that the report be sent to us on this issue because it's long overdue.
Thank you, Honorable Memahlo. Mpankomo, Mamu Babama.
Good morning, Chair. I will not put on my video. I will also not reiterate what my colleagues have stated thus far. I think it is very clear what the issues are. However, what I would like to know, Chair, is has the process, or how far is the process to obtaining the title deeds? I know that in the report it said that the conveyancer is busy with it, but what I would exactly like to know is when was the deeds office appraised of this matter? When did they submit the documents for registration of the title deeds? Because even if the keys are taking a long time to actually come to the people, what I am more interested in, and which is more important to me, is that they get their title deeds in their hands. Thank you, Chair. That will be all from me.
Thank you, Honorable Mbabama. The Honorable Ntate Montwedi. Tate Montwedi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you and all honorable members. Am I audible, Chair?
Yes, you are audible, Tate. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have just a few questions, Chair. I just want to check with the department how many of the claims are actually settled and those that are not yet finalized in the Western Cape, and how many of those are actually settled were actually for the District 6 claims that were settled. And also to check what are the timelines in terms of finalizing all those outstanding claims in that the Chair. Now, the other question, Chair, is that what the role did the Commission play with regard to selling of some lands to the developers? Is there any role that the Commission did play? Because I'm a bit worried, Chair, that maybe the role of the Commission is to ensure that there's protection of the rights of the people and also around the issue of the property. So is there any role that the Commission has actually played with regard to land that was sold to the developers, Chair? I think from my side,
Thank you, Honorable Ntate Montwedi. Honorable Metrate.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to the members of the Portfolio Committee, the Committee of District 6, and the Acting DG and other officials. Chairperson, mine is just brief. I just need to get an understanding or an answer from the department on the process. At this stage, how many claims are left? I was going through some chats, some messages posted on this chat that some claims are dated back as 1996. What could be the delay? Why there is no communicated to the claimants? I just need to know those things, Chair. As we're sitting now, what is the delay exactly, and why there is no handing over of title deeds to the claimants? And lastly, Chair, I also feel Ukuti, as early as we can, as the committee we meet with the District 6 committee and also do a follow-up. Seemingly there's a challenge in the Western Cape when it comes to this land issues and the District 6 claims. I think we need also to do our oversight there, in particular on that issue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chwete. Agbare Breed.
Dankie, Voorsitter. Chairperson, I think a lot has been said, and I've been following the chat, so I think you have quite a number of questions, so I will be brief, Chair. And maybe just to reiterate and to add my voice to my colleagues, Chair. I am greatly worried by the stellings en die beweringe about the lack of title deeds, the concerns that we have not received it, the fact that we need clarity on would it be an occupancy certificate or a title deed given, would it be a physical property, all of those issues. I think Honourable Steyn and some of my other colleagues have really covered that quite nicely. The issue regarding keys, Chairperson, the issue about who currently owns that land. Will there be a transfer then to the department who would then transfer it to the claimants? How would that process work? If we can get clarity on that. And Chairperson, I think if we see the issues here, it just states the importance of private land ownership within South Africa. People wanting to have a place to belong, people wanting to have something to call their own. And it is worrisome, and I would add my voice to my colleagues to say that we need to get this sorted. We need to have clear steps. We need to have timelines, and I would like to see a timeline in terms of not just, Honourable Chwete said, a timeline in terms of the claims to be settled and to be handled, but I don't necessarily think, and I want to broaden it to not just the claims, but the issues and the problems and the key facts and all of these other issues that the claimants have had, to get a clear distinction and to have, I don't know if we're going to have time quarterly to actually discuss all of the things that we have to do as a committee, but we need to find time. But I think our job is to have proper oversight, Chairperson, and maybe a week or two ago, we had the PPECB here and we said we would like an oversight there. I think that this would be maybe come 2022, one of those subjects, one of the areas that we can really discuss and that we should maybe put on our calendar to actually have an oversight and to not just meet the claimants, but to actually go and see, have a look, discuss, you know, how to actually assist our claimants in District 6, Chairperson, but I will leave it at that. Thanks.
Dankie, Agbare Breed. Dabezitha, Nkosi enkulu, the Honourable Nkosi Cebekulu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to you and all members, as well as the department and the commission. Chairperson, in the presentation, a mention was made of the complaint by an elderly about the structure of the leakage of pipes, which resulted in affecting her health-wise. Just to establish actually who was responsible for building these structures, where these people were relocated to, and what steps were taken, maybe in order to make sure that the quality of the structures that were built were suitable for people to reside in. I think my question would just be around that, simply because other members have raised a lot of questions that one would have maybe touched upon. You know, the issue of the claims settled and the claims that are finalized. What is the difference between the claims settled and the claims finalized, Chairperson, so that one could be in a position to understand exactly the difference between claims settled and claims finalized? Towards assisting those that still outside.
Dabomko, usekhona?
I'm done, Chair. I was through.
Thank you, Ndabezitha, the Honourable Cebekulu. The Honourable Kai from the National Council of Provinces. Any questions of clarity on your side? If not, the Honorable Member Tlati. Mr. I see your hand was up. Any matter on your side?
And now I'm covered. Thank you, Chair.
You are covered. Honorable members, is there any other honorable member on the platform who wishes to pose a question or clarity that I have not been able to recognize?
Chair, you haven't recognized me, Honorable
Tate Masipa, how can I forget you?
Honorable Chair, thanks very much. I'm not going to put my video on, if you don't mind. I fully concur and support Honorable Matthias that we definitely need a tripartite engagement on this matter. I think it's very, very important. However, Chair, in terms of the questions that I have got for the Commission is, first is how are they treating the land claimants and the owners? I mean, the land tenants, the current land tenants and the owners. And further, it's just to understand what settlement option will be entered into, especially when the same piece of land is being claimed. If they can just clarify that for me. The issues, some of the issues that I have really had being outlined by the Commission are concerning because they just reiterate the issues that were raised. But I would definitely like that the committee receive some timelines in terms of how long are they expecting to kind of resolve these issues, because that will actually just give us an understanding as to how we need to kind of oversight on this issue so that when they come back, at least we are able to engage on what they have really committed to the committee. The second one, obviously, the big issue is about communication and transparency that I have seen in terms of the submission from the land claimants. I do really support that the Commission needs to present to us as a committee a strategy, a communication strategy in terms of how are they going to deal with the land claimants of District 6 going forward. I think that way will kind of resolve many of the issues. As far as I'm concerned, I think that is one of the big issues. The last one is that there's obviously indications that there were properties that were sold or allegations that properties were sold. Can the Commission indicate to us if they have done any investigation to get to the bottom of this and how far are they with regards to that, and if they can just provide us with some understanding as to what were their findings? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable and Masipa. Any other honorable member on the platform I have not been able to recognize? Honorable members, if yes. Okay. If there is no other honorable member, let me then cover the questions that have been put by complainants on the chat group. First being from Jeff Alexandra, who's representing his mother, who is 82 years old, and she is suffering from depression because she is scared she is going to die before she gets the keys. Why is this process taking so long? And how long does occupancy certificates take to be completed? We need a timeline. And Asa Sali also writes, is the Act 22 not the guide to how allocations must be made? I would like to verbally present my statement around District 6, PH1 of Phase 1 and 2, and most that is in the report is questionable and is challenged. Do not tick your box. Thank you, I'm awaiting. She continues to write, even the latent defects are questionable. It was brought forward by the Commissioner's office, but ignored. It was thrown to the District 6 Trust. They sent us back to the Western Cape Lands Office. The money to be reimbursed to claimants of Phase 1 and Phase 2 is still outstanding. The department was part of this exercise, but they choose to ignore that fact. And A. Clark also writes, I claimed on the 10th of September, 1996, our claim number is D162. To date, we have had no communication, which is coming, and we don't know why ours were not settled. Now, I want to take that one in particular as an example, as a lodged claim which was submitted in 1996. And I did hear Tate Alexandra saying that it was settled in 2000. Did Tate Alexandra mean that or say the claimant is awaiting allocation? If not settled and finalized, what are the delays that are causing that? When are they finalizing the claim as put by A. Clark? How are they communicating this information to the claimants? If the claimants are approaching Parliament for these type of issues, it may be symbolic of communication issues. So I really want to understand from the department as well as the CLCC as to how are they communicating with the claimants, because it seems a number of the issues that arise here is the lack of communication. And then there's a question from Latif Kader, who writes, I am Latif Kader, regarding the dispute between myself and my siblings had been dealt with at Cape Town Court, and a court order was issued in 2020 in my favor. And therefore, he would like to understand what is happening with his claim. Asa Sali writes again, why must the politicians speak? We, the people from District 6, can present our own cases. Let us, honorable members, remind Mayor Asa Sali that we afforded the complainants an opportunity to come before the committee. Having heard the Honorable Minister Togoti Deza saying in the media that all the District 6 land claims had been settled, we then put an invitation to the District 6 claimants to ascertain if that was indeed the case. They came before the committee and made their submissions. Hence, we have the 14 complainants that made submissions. That report was compiled on behalf of the Portfolio Committee of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. We then sent it to the department as well as the CLCC for processing and for reporting back to the committee. Today is a mere formality for the department as well as the CLCC to be able to give feedback back to the portfolio committee. Because Parliament is always sitting and it's open to the public, we felt it necessary to invite all the complainants and people of District 6 who wanted to hear firsthand for themselves the input that was being given by the department, as well as that of the CLCC. We therefore, as a committee, are going to have a session of our own to give the feedback to the complainants. This is why when Mr. Alexandra was presenting, particularly the responses to the 14 complainants, I said, can they send that to the committee so that we can make that available to the 14 complainants that have made submissions. This is why then, Mayor Sally, we are having this engagement with the department, and we will in time, as you have heard, some of the honorable members feel that we should have an open session. Some have even suggested a tripartite engagement with the City of Cape Town and the department, including the portfolio committee. Then let's move on to the next, Wada Wilkinson, who writes, is there an estimated time for successful phase claimant to be able to move in to their respective places? Jay Mohammed also writes, good day. It is very disappointed and disheartening. Mr. Alexandra mentioned that all the claimants were communicated to. The only communication I received was 2 letters saying denied without further clarity. This further emphasizes the issue of communication, and I'd really like when Tate Alexandra responds to speak to these issues centered in and around communication. Latif Keida also writes, we do not have habitation certificates and our buildings are not registered with the City of Cape Town. So how will the department succeed to register without the latent defects in the buildings, which are being addressed first, such as defective electrical cable underground and unsafe living conditions? Farida Skoroda says, I have had no formal communication on progress of my claim, which is number S1209. Sally Sekot writes, my question is for Dr. Wayne Alexandra and the department. Some background. I took occupation in 2014 and noticed that many problems with the building. Also, we did not get habitation certificates for them. I emailed the department, Mr. Khatib, informing him of the problems with no reply in 2014. We then approached Mr. Kalam, the building contractor, in 2015 with no luck. My question is, why does it take the department 7 years to respond to my inquiry? And how come now Dr. Wayne has said that if we haven't lodged the complaint within 5 years, they can't help us? This is unacceptable and the department needs to assist us. I have all communication since 2014 and can forward it to the committee. Also, Mr. Khatib came to inspect the issues and we gave them a full report with pictures in WhatsApp him, and he advised that he sent the report. When I called Charles member, he told me that Mr. Khatib did not receive the report. So I don't understand why the department is trying to avoid these issues. Communication once again, and we would like that to be attended to. And someone has logged in with a number 556269 and says the problems lie with the 3 tiers not working to government to bring our District 6 people home. District 6 has been like a political football game. There is no transparency and all claimants are kept in the dark. Asasali also writes again, what is really meant by settled? When documents are signed or when people have moved back. Mr. Jeff Alexandra writes, what happens to the unit was that was allocated to my mom if she passes away before receiving the keys. I can also assist in that one, Tate Alexandra. If the original claimant passes on, the children and the grandchildren or whoever is in line of that claim will be able to be the beneficiary on behalf of the original claimant. But I will also enable the CLCC to speak to that. May Sali request that we may please meet with all stakeholders ASAP. We shall indeed ensure we do so, Ms. Sali, as this is what we have undertaken to do as a portfolio committee to ensure that all District 6 claims have been settled and finalized. So we will, as honorable members have requested, that we bring this to closure as soon as we can. There's another question from the number 556269, which says, can we for once get anyone on the same page as to where we are? How are we going to fast track getting our people back to District 6? Latif Kader writes, why did the commission send my siblings to my home to harass me regarding my occupation of my home? Mr. Aslam Clark want to reiterate Busi Chwete, Honorable Busi Chwete's comment. How many claims are outstanding and why is there a lack of communication with the outstanding claimants? Again, the number 556269. We have never had a land audit and the history of the land since forced removals. A clerk says, good day, I claimed in 10 September 1996. Our claim number is D162. We've already received this one before, but she adds on to that, to date, there's been no communication which is coming our way. We don't know why our claims were not settled yet, but Mr. Alexandra did say it was settled, so we'll hear from him on this. People who claimed a year before me were settled 10 years ago already. Why are we not getting any feedback? I sent an email after the last meeting we had and didn't even receive an acknowledgement. Latif Kader, why does the commission want to coerce me into agreeing with the demands, with their demands when the Cape Town or City of Cape Town court ordered no harassment? Farid Schroeder, how long will it be before the next phase is going to start? And is the building contractor a reputable company with qualified artisans, namely bricklayers, electricians, and plumbers? Asasali, who decides how allocation happens? It changes from one phase to another. the reimbursement of contribution paid to the District 6 Trust is still to be paid. There are people who have passed away and presently a 100-year-old waiting to be paid. This is all with the Commissioner's office and it just gets whisked away. We need a strong conversation around that, as District 6 Trust was a partner with the Western Cape Lands Office. It's not going to go away, and yet District 6 Trust is mentioned and spoken with as if that matter is resolved. It is not. A clerk, the minister, made a public statement that all claims were settled. Clearly, that is not the case. I claimed in 1996 and was not settled. D16, when will I be contacted and my claim settled? Whoever logged in with the number 556269, we need timelines for the entire District 6 and not a stop and start process. Alternative land to be sourced for the ones who have been forcibly removed and not in Timbuktu, but in close proximity to the land which they were dispossessed from. 60,000 people were forcibly removed from 150 hectares of land, lest we forget. The Commission has failed the land reform beneficiaries and have not addressed our concerns and complaints, and are just repeating the same answers and have no idea as to how to address our concerns and complaints as written by Latif Kaida. Chef Alexandra writes, phoning the Land Claims Office is a total waste of time as the phones are not answered. Sisali, I thank you for the explanation. We are lay people and are still learning. Now, this is what we are here for, Mesali, as public representatives. We have taken on this task to ensure that people of District 6 that have brought all of us as a multi-party portfolio committee to speak on their behalf. We have taken this into our duty to ensure that these claims are settled and finalized. So please bear with us as we navigate through this process. But we want to ensure that every claim is attended to and it is responded to sufficiently. Wada Wilson, my parents' claim number is W341. They applied in 1996 and was told their papers was lost and had to apply in R1998. According to the department, the paper isn't valid as the date stamped on is in the year 2000. However, the documents were submitted in December 1998. In addition, they also saying that the claims are not valid as they lived in various parts of District 6. They have evidence of all the places they have lived. I've written to various people, including the department, who offered no assistance. My mother is wheelchair bound and ill, and so is my father. I don't think they will live until the new application has opened. The waiting has traumatized them again. This is not a unique story. Thousands of people are dying, waiting to return and to at least have answers. Mrs. Khan's 100-year-old, and she's receiving no response from the department. The elderly cannot deal with this stress. It's emotionally affecting them. Mesali, as per the court order, a complete claimant list and an estimated when claimants will return, taking consideration that the Act 22 of 1994 must be the guide for allocations and decisions around indigent, as per 6.2D states, priority must be given to the elderly, sick, and the homeless must be considered first. Where does it state in the Act that owners versus tenants is nowhere in the Act? Maybe there was an amendment. I would also want to ascertain on the issue of tenants versus owners. Do they have equal rights? What happens when an owner and a tenant lodge a claim on the same piece of property? Some of the honorable members have raised concerns about title deeds. What was the agreement initially on this? If there are people without title deeds, when are they going to be issued? This is very important because people do not want to invest in properties that they do not own titles for. What will the Commission do when they start processing new order claims and find that an owner claimed a property that has been settled for a tenant? That is all honorable members on my side, and I've tried to do my best to cover the issues raised by the complainants and some of our guests from the District 6 Working Committee and the District 6 claimants. I will now hand back to Mesa Diki, the acting DG, as well as the CLCC, as led by Mamu Koboto and Ntate Alexandra. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. We have taken note of all the comments on the chat box, and we will attempt to address them with the consent applicants. Thank you for the comments that we have received from the members. As to the questions that needs to be addressed, I would hand over to the CLCC. However, there are those that I do believe that they would need us to engage with the affected claimants and respond appropriately as such. I have noted Mechape saying she proposes a quarterly meeting, and I hope that at that point we should be able to bring response on those questions that needs the department to continue to engage with the claimants. Thank you. With your indulgence, Chair, I would love to hand over to the CLCC and team to address those questions that you have raised. Thank you.
Over to the CLCC.
Thank you very much to the chairperson and the committee members. And again, I apologize for my in and out, but I have been part of the session and I've heard and listened to all of the comments. Chairperson, I just want to firstly say that I will respond broadly to the issues that have been raised, but also my colleagues will assist in the responses. I, however, want to say that the presentation that we provided today focused mostly on phase 3 of District 6 development, and so did not cover a lot of the things that the committee members are asking us to respond to. And so I would also agree that an update to the portfolio committee from time to time will assist all of the stakeholders. And also, I think that us having a time to give a full account of District 6 in general to the Portfolio Committee might assist in answering some of the questions that have been answered here. So it might be beneficial for us to perhaps send to the committee a written report that gives the full background of District 6 as a claim in total. Safe to say, Chair, that the honorable members asked the question around last. I want to clarify that settled means that the claim has been either approved by the Land Claims Court as a claim that is valid and therefore has been approved. Finalized means a claim that has, if it was land, the land has been transferred into the hand of the beneficiary. If it was financial compensation, that financial compensation has been paid to the beneficiary. And if you've got 1,000 beneficiaries, you will only regard that claim as having been finalized when the last member of that community has been paid. If there are still 2 outstanding members of the 1,000, that claim is not considered as finalized. So District 6 as a claim did not have one member, as you can see. There are multiple beneficiaries, and therefore you had a number of applicants that lodged separate individual claims. I think the Western Cape colleagues will assist me with the numbers. And so we dealt with these various claims, and in 2002, the claim was settled. So when the minister made reference to a claim that was settled, is what she was referring to. She was not saying that the claim was finalized. Secondly, a number of claimants opted for financial compensation, and those have been paid. So the ones who opted for financial compensation mostly have been paid and they've received their compensation. What we are dealing with mostly is the claims that relate to those who opted for land restoration. I think further, Chair, it is important to mention that when the claim was settled in 2002, the District 6 beneficiaries decided on their own that they were going to develop District 6 themselves as a collective. And as a result, they set themselves up into the District 6 Trust, which was going to be the one that is going to develop the land collectively, not allocating it as per individuals where they were dispossessed, but they were going to have a mixed use. They were going to have businesses that would be able to cross-subsidize whatever else that they wanted to do. And so that was the initiative that they undertook, which is why phase 1 and 2 was developed by the District 6 Trust itself. There were obviously issues, as you can see or hear, Chair. For example, the reference to certain monies that were paid by some of the beneficiaries, which was a decision that the community themselves made, that in order to have cross-subsidization, the community members or the beneficiaries would pay in 100,000 towards the development. That was not something that as government we were involved in. That was a decision that was made by the beneficiaries themselves through the trust. And again, remember that the trust, District 6 Trust, in itself is an independent juristic entity that can make decisions on behalf of its trusts through its trustees. We then in 2012, after the phase 1 and 2 had been developed, took it upon ourselves again as government through the minister, then Minister Ngwindi, to assist in the redevelopment of District 6 because there were obvious challenges and the development was not happening. And instead of having external developers or project managers, the department through rural development took over the development of phase 3. There was extensive consultation that happened between the communities and plans. I think we took probably a good 2 years consulting with the communities around the plans, explaining what was possible and what was not possible, understanding that in terms of the constitution and various judgments, including the Grootboom judgment that is in the Constitutional Court, the state can only continue to provide housing within the capability of the state, and therefore this becomes a progressive right. So we communicated, we went to and fro with the representatives of the community around the typology, and they were very clear that they were not prepared to go up, which means to build multiple levels. And we explained that if we don't go up, then fewer people get in immediately, which is why the typology. It was agreed, and in 2012, the reference group was appointed by the communities themselves in a town hall meeting, which was at the ICC, to represent the communities. From then on, every Friday, there would be meetings with the reference group on the actual day-to-day implementation of where we wanted to go with District 6. So the expectation has always been that the reference group communicates with the community, but also we communicate with the community through bulk SMSs. Since then, we've had multiple town hall meetings, the last one happening on the 19th of December, 2019, and we haven't had a big meeting since then because of COVID, but we've continued to engage with them. In fact, I am informed by my team that the next meeting that was due with the reference group was actually today. I'm not sure exactly what time it is. So I am trying to indicate, Chairperson, that we are trying to communicate. We acknowledge that there might be a deficit in terms of actually reaching the actual beneficiary, but the communication is constant. The minister, the current minister, has communicated with the various structures. Remember, we've got the trust, we've got the reference group, we've got the working group, and we've got other groupings that have interest in the workings of District 6. And our commitment to the portfolio committee and to the claimants is that as the commission, we are interested in seeing this matter resolved. And further, Chair, the matter is in court. And so whatever it is that we say is communicated in court quarterly. We've submitted a plan to court, and the court has is keeping an eye on the development. The minister has made a commitment on what can happen. I am also informed by Mr. Nasele Meshomakulu, who is responsible for the development of phase 3, and I'm sure we'll be able to answer some of the issues that they are ready to start with phase 4, and I think that will have about 400 plus units. But again, the importance is to separate the role of the commission and the role of the department. The role of the commission is to settle the claim and make sure that we allocate dwellings when they become available. But the commission does not build. We know nothing about building. We know nothing about certificates. And even when we brought the community beneficiaries in June to say, please identify the house, tell us if you like it, and if you don't like it, sign here and say you don't want to be part of phase 3, and we will then allocate to someone else. We were doing it on the understanding that the houses can be handed over. We since were then alerted that there were challenges and the certificates between the department who were assisting with the development and the city have not been finalized. So as a commission, we've continued to communicate with each individual beneficiary who is part of phase 3, that we are unable to hand over the keys because it would be illegal, because there is no happy letter. That's what I refer to it. And so we are really waiting, therefore, for the certification so that we can hand over. From our side, we are ready to hand over the keys, but we can't hand them over until the city and the department have resolved the outstanding issues that are there. So in the context of whether financial compensation has been paid, yes, financial compensation has been paid to those beneficiaries who opted for financial compensation. And there is no land that was sold under District 6. The reference to selling of the land was made with regard to the issue of tramway, where the land claim again was settled in the 2000s, 2000 and 2001. And some of the claimants opted for financial compensation and some opted for land, and they got the land, but at some point in time, they sold off the land. And remember, once the land has been transferred to the beneficiaries into an entity, they become the owners of the land and can do what they need to do with the land. And so we understand that on their own volition, they sold the land to a developer and they divided the proceeds. And so that is, on the issue of the leakages, I understand the concerns that possibly could be there. And Hussein Khatib is the project manager who was appointed to oversee the issues in District 6. And I don't think that there should be a problem if there were issues of latent defect that were identified within time and they are not issues of maintenance. Because I think, Chair, there should not be a problem with the department working with the trust who developed these phases to try and sort out those issues. But we need to separate the issue of latent defects to that of maintenance, which becomes the responsibility of the owner then of the unit. We will continue to make sure that Khatib looks into this issue of latent defects, and so that we see what obligation belongs to the department and what obligation would belong to the developer, and make sure that we try as best as possible to resolve that if they are. And again, I'm now speaking on behalf of the department because they would then have to assist us in issues of
Koboto, you still there? Koboto?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, you may proceed. We lost you momentarily there.
Oh, sorry, Chair. Just to indicate that basically it would be beneficial also for us as the Commission to have that interface with the portfolio committee, with the beneficiaries there, so that as one of the people wrote, that we all need to be on the same page. And perhaps we would also request, Chair, a reference group that represents the old order claimants be part of that session, so that they too can account in the context of how far we have been able to communicate with them and whether they are able to then communicate with the beneficiaries that they represent. Otherwise, as said, we will continue to do the best of our ability to ensure that we deal with the claims. Remembering again that we've got old order claims and we've got new order claims. We can't touch the new order claims because of the interdict in the Lamusa. And again, if there is a claim that is that of a tenant versus that of a landowner, in all our claims across the country, there are different rights in law, and therefore a right that is owned by an owner is different to that of a tenant who actually occupied maybe a full flat versus a tenant, for example, in KZN, where we provide restitution
even for tenants who occupied a room or even informal settlements. So there are differences in the law in terms of how we deal with those criteria of beneficiaries. Let me stop there, Chair, and maybe ask Dr. Wayne to just give out some of the numbers of the beneficiaries in specifically to restitution. And Chair, ask that in some of the other detail that you need, that we provide you with information in writing around claims that are outstanding in the Western Cape in general. And then we provide you with a full report on District 6, especially with regards to claims, old order claims, because we can't give you information on the new order claims as a result of the interdict. Through you, Chair.
Thank you, Mamu Koboto. I also, honorable members, want to emphasize on this process in particular. The minister, the Honorable Mahmoud Diza, made an announcement that all District 6 land claims pre-1998 had been settled. We embarked on a process of verifying that and ensuring if there are any people or claimants that have been left out. So we are quite happy, Mamu Koboto, to get information from the CLCC and from the department in terms of the claims that still need to be processed pre-1998. If there's been some claims that have been settled and claimants have been allocated units in phase 1 and phase 2, those issues are being attended to, and we are channeling them directly to the department and the CLCC to attend to. Ours as the portfolio committee is to ensure that it is indeed correct that all pre-1998 claims have been settled. And that's why we have embarked on this process. I therefore want to plead with the claimants of District 6 and those that are really passionate about this topic to be patient with us as we are wanting to look on to every claim and ensure that there is no claimant that has been left not attended to. Other issues can be channeled into their rightful offices, and we are here as a committee to assist those issues find themselves to the respective offices. Thank you, Mamu Koboto. I will then allow Tate Alexandra to talk to some of the issues as he was presenting, or anyone else from the CLC before we get back to the department. Tate Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Chair. I've been obviously covered by the CLCC, and also just want to echo the sentiments of the acting DG. We've noted all those very specific issues, Chair, and we will certainly put a response to that in the way we've handled the other matrix, and be in touch with those specific individual claimants, and also send that report to the committee for further scrutiny. In terms of just to cite, Chair, that the CLCC already defined the issue of settled claims versus finalized claims in the Western Cape. We at the moment on 377 outstanding claims. So in saying that, Chair, we're making the point that District 6 has already been settled. We're clearly now moving into what we term post-settlement scenario. And in terms of the numbers, as asked by honorable members, that in terms of the old order claims, we received 2,760 claims that were lodged before 1998. Of that, 110 were non-compliant in terms of our processes that we followed. The question around financial compensation, yes, 1,449 claimants opted for financial compensation, whilst 1,201 suggested they be on the redevelopment list. So the redevelopment list speaks to the dwellings that we currently developing, Chair, of which 247 have been completed. That includes now the 108 that we've completed in 2021. The other numbers were the phases 1 and 2 under the watch of the trust. So in terms of our numbers, we have about 957, Chair, that's still now awaiting dwellings, and that will happen in the ensuing phases. And I'm sure my colleague from the department, Naseli, will speak to some of those technical issues, Chair. I just want to also just add that the keys that we received were the ones that we could use, what we called for show houses, because at that stage, the building, the District 6, 108 dwellings were under practical completion, so we couldn't enter all the dwellings. So we have 20 keys as asked by the honourable member. However, we are awaiting the other keys once the occupation certificate issues have been sorted. Chair, I think most of the other issues speak specifically to the issues of whether we sell land, etc., and that's been discussed. But I think coming through very clearly, Chair, and I do note that we will look at the communication strategy as requested. We do have one. We will certainly share that. We work very closely with the Minister's Department in this regard and share that. I also want to add my voice that I really do appreciate the comments coming through from the claimants and their concerns that we will certainly address, and also this continuous meetings that will be held. I will ensure, Chair, that those reports are tabled, and I think I appreciate the fact that there will be a monitoring of the situation and the willingness to assist us to expedite the matter. So if fine with you, Chair, I will certainly answer and write up answers to the specific questions and let the committee have that soonest. And if it's, I also would want the head of our legal team, Mr. Ben Mars, if it's fine with you, Chair, just to add his voice to some of the concerns expressed.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Ben.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members, DG and DM and the claimants. Yes, just the issue about the global settlement agreement. The global settlement agreement was required by the Chief Registrar of Deeds in that he forwarded a communication in the form of a circular that we cannot transfer anymore from the holding entity directly to the claimants. For example, City of Cape Town is the landowner in District 6 of most of those land parcels, and the transfer cannot be recorded in the deeds office as going from the city to the claimants. Before, it was just noted that it was done in the restitution process. But what is now required is the first transfer must go via this from the City of Cape Town as the donor entity directly to the department and subsequently to the claimant. And hence we needed the global settlement agreement as signed by the Regional Land Claims Commissioner, who is empowered to sign it in terms of the Restitution Act to comply with the circular of the Chief Registrar of Deeds. So that's the one issue, and that speaks to the remaining transfers in phase 2. We would need another global settlement agreement for phase 3, and that is being drafted already. As mentioned, we have the state attorney on the record as our conveyancer, who would be dealing with the transfer of registration of all phase 3 units once the certificates of occupancy have been issued. So in a nutshell, Chair, that is the issue. I also note quite a number of issues has been raised about quarterly reports. We are actually reporting, as the CLCC has stated already, to the Land Claims Commission. So this matter is under judicial overview, and we have to submit quarterly reports about the progress. But that pertains to the phases and swing phases, which we call phase 4 and 5, otherwise known as Build 1 and Build 2. Those are the 952 houses to be constructed, 474 in Build 1 and another 476 in Build 1 and equal number in Build 2. Chair, so this is in a nutshell what I wish to report from a legal perspective. Obviously, there's maybe just the other issue of the latent defects and the other defects, leakages, and so on, which the claimants complained about. Quite rightly, there's been a builder's liability cover for 5 years after completion of a project, and that is prescribed by law. So if you do not act within the time frame of 5 years, you cannot approach the builder anymore. May I just add, at the time for phases 1 and 2, claimants were represented by the District 6 Redevelopment Trust. So they were the managers, development managers, and even the project managers for phases 1 and 2. So claimants who had experienced problems had been referred to them, the development trust, and to the Kalam building construction, the builder at the time. Chair, what we also propose, and fellow members, is that in terms of the legislation, if you are allocated a dwelling in any department and the dwelling is subject to the sectional title schemes, you must register a body corporate as your representative arm. You must elect those people at the election to oversee areas of common usage, certain areas that can assist in all these matters. That's what we have recommended to especially those people in phases 1 and 2 who are complaining about the common areas not being maintained and even the units within the departments not being maintained. Obviously, the other entity that one can also constitute would be a homeowners association, but that's entirely voluntary. So people have the choice to constitute both these entities to assist them in maintaining the standards of the units and the common areas in usage. We have responded. I think there was a request from Masali that we must assist them with a work session pertaining to the establishment of a homeowners association and a body corporate. And I think we are willing to do that and enlist the services of a service provider to further expand and explain on these matters. So, Chair, in a nutshell, this is what I have to report from a legal perspective. I don't know whether there's any other issues. I just recorded about, I think, 11 questions coming from the membership, the members of this committee. And there's about another 12 issues rather coming from the claimants via the chat box. And as Dr. Wayne Alexander has already explained, and the Chief Land Claims Commissioner, we will engage with the claimants and favor this committee with a proper and appropriate response. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Ben Mas, for those responses. I will request honorable members that the CLCC as well as the department take note of all the questions that have been put by the honorable members before them today, as well as those questions that came directly from the complainants. If you can respond to those questions in writing, direct to the Secretariat of the Portfolio Committee by no later than Friday, the 10th of December, so that we can also ensure that all the complainants have been furnished with responses to their claims. I know that you have undertaken to communicate better and reach back to the complainants. So I would like in that spirit to ensure that all these questions that have been raised today are noted, and that you can please respond to all the questions in writing and communicate them to each complainant, particularly the 14 that have raised issues with the committee. We will then also want a submission made by the 10th of December, close of business day, to the Secretariat of the Portfolio Committee, so that we can also be able to put together a program for the Portfolio Committee to engage with the complainants and people of District 6. Honorable members, we want to thank our guests from District 6 who have been able to participate on this session. And we assure them that when the new year rises, we will hit the ground running and we will get on to speed into engaging with them, because we've had the call of honorable members to be able to have a direct engagement with them. I did say in my opening remarks that this was merely a process for us to get feedback from the department as well as CLCC, and therefore plan our session with the complainants and the people of District 6. We therefore will ask the Secretariat to prioritize that and put it in our first terms program for 2022. Before I close on this session, as we do have the Rietfontein Farm dwellers presentation to get into, we also have the presentation on the red meat industry that we would like to get into. But I see Honorable Steyn, your hand is up.
Chairperson, yes, I'm really sorry to speak after you've basically closed the session, but listening to the responses from the department, I think it is really very important, Chair, that we understand the issue of the land. Who does the land belong to? How is the transfer going to happen and all of that, just as that part of how they must respond to us, Chairperson, because I'm not satisfied with the answers on that. So if the department can focus specifically on that process, because it would make, going forward easier for us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Steyn. We are very clear as the committee who the land belongs to. It belongs to the people of District 6, and ours as public representatives is to ensure that land gets back into their rightful owners. And we will ensure that we leave no stone unturned in ensuring that the people of District 6 are able to get full rights to their land. So let us engage on these issues, honorable members, and be able to fast track the process on behalf of the complainants. But we would like at this juncture to thank all our guests from District 6 who have been able to be patient with us and attend and hear for themselves firsthand as to how far we have proceeded in terms of attending to their issues of District 6. We will now move on, honorable members, to our next presentation, which is the Rietfontein Farm dwellers. And before we proceed with this one, can I also ask the presentation of the National Red Meat Customs Feedlot development also be prepared and be ready? We will take both presentations at the same time and then be able to pose questions of clarity once we have dispensed with the presentations. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson Dabeziti and DM Squatter. Good morning, and to the committee members. I hope I'm audible. I don't know, DG, whether I should proceed.
Yes, you can proceed.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson, again, greetings to yourself and the members. I'm just showing the video for you to see my face. Now switch off, thank you. My name is Zanele Sihlangu. I am acting as the DDG Provincial Operations. This complaint came from Mpumalanga. It's the province that I'm heading in my capacity as Chief Director in the Mpumalanga Provincial Office. I'm briefing the committee chairperson and members on the issue that was raised by Mr. Mtimunye to the portfolio committee, complaining about his security of tenure. I want to give the background so that committee members can understand where this matter comes from. Mr. Mpageni Khielboy Mtombeni, I'm sorry, it's not Mtimunye. He lodged the claim in 2015. It's a land claim. This is the new order claim, which we cannot process due to the Lamusa judgment. It affects portion 6 of Farm Rietfontein, but there is another family on portion 13 of the same farm. All of them are long-term occupiers. The farm is in Tembisiliani, local municipality in the Kankala district of the Mpumalanga province. Can proceed. Okay, this is part of the background again. These farms, they form part of the project which we call the 700 hectare state land project that was advertised for allocation. And there is it is the land that was purchased by the former Kwandebele government to expand the territories and allocated to farmers around 1998. There are claims also on these properties. It affecting a number of portions in these properties. Chairperson, I need to mention that when these farms were purchased, they were purchased as huge farms. And when government allocated the farms at the time, they didn't allocate farms per portions. It was cut in between portions. For example, you will find an allocation that is affecting 3 farms. Allocated to one lessee. And at the time, there was no re-registration, subdivision and re-registration. So I'm mentioning this so that committee members understand what we are dealing with here and the other issues that we cannot even determine when we're gonna finalize this. I will indicate this as I move forward. But what we did after the complainant had been coming to our office, he was coming to inquire about his land claim that he lodged in 2015. And we then determined from the conversation with him that this is actually a long-term occupier. So we conducted a land rights inquiry as it is required. And we confirmed that the family is a long-term occupiers on the same farm that they are referring to. We can move. So it's the mother of the complainant, Mrs. Nondala Saram Tombin, who is the long-term occupier together with his family. They've been there for more than the years that has been indicated in the complaint. They are staying on the farm. They have 20 cattle. And as indicated in my opening, there is also another Mahlangu family that is sitting on portion 13 of the same farm. The department then concluded that there is a need. We are adamant to ensure the security of tenure of these families because indeed they are long-term occupiers. Can continue. In my conclusion, I need to mention to members of the committee that as I was presenting, I indicated that there's a whole lot of complexity of land rights on these properties. The leases that we are talking to that I indicated they've been long there since 1988, many of them, as I indicated. There is land claims on these properties that have not been yet finalized. We have this information because when we did the research, we found out, and we're working with the commission to determine when these farms will be settled. We also have this long-term occupiers. And again, this land is not registered the way the people are settled on this farm. So whether it is the leases or the land claims that have come in, everything just cuts across every farm. So we couldn't even sit and determine an action plan here. The province tried, but I felt we cannot come to the committee and just put dates that we know are not practical, because we have to deal with these issues of the land claims. We have to deal with the issues of the long-term occupiers. We have to deal with the issues of the long-term leases on the same farms. We have conflicts that are happening in this part of our province that have been reported to everywhere, including the public protect. So we want to tread very carefully. But the commitment that we are making to the committee here is that we acknowledge the Mtombeni family are indeed long-term occupiers. Together with the Mahlangu family, we will make it possible that we protect their tenure rights here. We were even engaging with the province to determine if we cannot issue them with a paper that says, we're giving you a R1 lease whilst we are attending to these issues. So we are committing that we will come back as soon as we are done with these possibilities that are there before us to the committee to indicate what we're going to do and perhaps put clear return dates that we're going to implement this project with, because we need to be very careful. As indicated, we have a lot of anarchy in this part of town. People are fighting, and this fight as a result of these competing land rights on this property. I thank you, Chairperson and members of the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation on the Rietfontein farm dwellers, and we will, honorable members, come back to that in terms of questions of clarity and comments. We will now move to the next presentation, being the National Red Meat Customs Feedlot Development Program. You may proceed. Ms. Adiki is going to lead us on this presentation.
Chair, good morning again. I'm just checking whether DDG Modison is here.
Okay.
Mhlali ngaphambili
Ewe
bendicela ungena mhlekazi, andazi noba uDG obambeleyo na ngobani lamkhangelayo, kodwa i-National Red Meat Development Program yona ndim umntu omele uba uyathetha phezu kwayo.
Hayi ke ungaqhuba.
Enkosi kakhulu mhlali ngaphambili, enkosi Mandela, siyolivelile. Ndiphakamela ukubulisa kubo bonke abaphathiswa and nabahlonitshwa members of the Portfolio Committee. I am going to make a presentation on the National Red Meat Development Program that has been responsible for the spreading of custom feedlots closer to rural communities. This presentation is based on a meeting that was held on the 26th of May 2021, where representatives of the Custom Feed Association representatives came and voiced their disfavor regarding the halting of the program. The challenge that led to all of that was the fact that the department found itself in a situation of not being able to continue without a legal institution that was in agreement with it. And the purpose, therefore, of this presentation is to update and report back to the Portfolio Committee on Agricultural Land Reform and Rural Development of where we are with this project. I'm going to the next page. There are a few stakeholders that are part of this Red Meat Development Program, which is ourselves, the Department of Agricultural Land Reform and Rural Development, the National Agricultural Marketing Council, the Agricultural Research Council, and EOBP. And all of these organizations play different fundamental roles. And ourselves, for instance, we are the funders of the project. The NAMC is implementing. The ARC and the OBP are going to be part of us as we increase the rollout of these projects in future. And so the rollout is going to be costing out in the next 3 years just over 308 million, which is going to be in the first year 100 million, the second year is going to be 100 million, and on the third year it's going to go to 106 million. Now the National Agricultural Marketing Council has completed the former phases, and it is now going to start the next phase of finishing the outstanding monies from the 1st of December. So we are glad to advise the portfolio committee that this program now has been put back on track again. In August 2020, the supply chain unit consulted National Treasury to obtain clarity on deviations and on conditions of appointing NAMC as an implementing agent. And then on the 25th of May, the National Treasury supported that, yes, we could use the NAMC to that deviation. In response, therefore, to the above, the National Agricultural Marketing Council requested clarity on a condition that was put by National Treasury, which then led to a slight delay, because that condition was that NAMC cannot outsource. But after obtaining more clarity from the National Treasury therefore agreed that as long as UNESCO NAMC are keeping onto the supply chain laws related to this. The current status, and honorable members, is that the department and the National Agricultural Marketing Council have since signed the new service level agreement on the 10th of November this year for the implementation of this program in Eastern Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, and in the Northwest provinces as part of finishing that initial phase that was started. The remaining amount of money that's going to be finished starting from the 1st of December is 26,226,000 rand. The National Treasury has approved the rollover funds. 191 employees are going to be recruited for the implementation of the transitional plan. In terms of e-governance, the project governance and reporting is provided for in the service level agreement. There are strict governance protocols in it. There are 2 committees that are going to be coming into play here. There's going to be a project steering committee nationally, and there's going to be a provincial technical committee responsible for each and every province. The first committee, the provincial technical committee, will meet monthly. The second committee, which is the project steering committee, is going to meet quarterly or as required. This brings me to the end of this presentation. Zulveli.
Thank you, Ntate Moshe, for the presentation. Honorable members, there's both the presentation from the Rietfontein farm dwellers, as well as the National Red Meat Development Program on custom feedlots. We will now open the sessions for questions of clarity or comments. Honorable Kape.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Let me welcome the presentation on both items. One, I noticed the issue of communication is a bit problematic. It's of a challenge. If you would have the complainant for Rietfontein having information, it wouldn't have brought for us. It will be very clear that how substantive the reasons are that the department has. They must communicate, make sure that the farmers or people that are affected by these programs understand, educate them. We will never have enough education for our communities. What does this thing of the new orders that are put on hold, what does it mean? What does it take to unlock them? So it will be very key. But otherwise, we're looking into that. And that takes me to the second presentation on the custom feedlots. Brilliant progress that is being made, bringing them back. I would also request, Chair, that this also becomes part of the quarterly reporting, as much as District 6 also, and if possible, it will also come up as part of your oversight. But my worry, Chair, is the communication from the department side. If people are reporting be something that they need to improve drastically on.
Honorable Klape, are you still with us?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Klape. Honorable
Listen,
Stein?
I completed.
Okay, now thank you. Honorable Stein?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you also to the presenters. Chairperson, I will start with the red meat program, and I agree with Honorable Klape that I think it would be good for us to get constant feedback, maybe on a quarterly basis. But in order for us to be able to do proper oversight on that, Chair, it's also important that we do get the business plans, the full plans of what is expected to happen with these feedlots, the amounts that would, go into there, that exactly where the feedlots is. I think they did give us the locations last time, Chairperson, but when we are traveling around the country, we would be able also to go and do oversight and visit the feedlots. And then, Chairperson, on the Rietfontein issue, I totally agree that communication in this department is totally lacking, especially regarding land claims and how far it is. I have asked Chair last time, and I think we constantly need an update on monitoring on that, on a national database on land claims. We need to put something in a database that is accessible. The amount of time that the members of this portfolio committee spend on trying to find out how far is a claim, what is the current status of the claim, where is the claim, because claimants don't get answers from the Commission, Chairperson. I think it's the one thing that we do need to push, even for ourselves, to get that database so that we even can be able to see where is the processes. And as I said last time, Chair, it's not only on the claimants, but it's also on the landowners who has received letters years back to say that there's a land claim on their land, but they can't move from there because they can't find out if the land claim was processed, is it finalized, how far is it. So it's both sides of the process that will be assisted when we have a national database of all land claims. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Stein. And Tate Matthias? Honorable Matthias? Honorable Muntwedi? Tate Muntwedi?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Tate. You can proceed.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, you may proceed. Tate.
Can you hear me, Tate Mandela?
Yes, we can hear you, Tate Muntwedi. You may proceed.
No, thank you. Thanks a lot, Honorable Chair. Chair, my interest is on the customs feedlot program, which Tate Swartz has actually made a presentation about. But it's very worrying, Chair, because some of this presentation that comes on an ad hoc basis, I don't think they're really assisting, because I happened to visit one feedlot about 2 months ago. There's actually nothing happening in those feedlots. It appears as if the department has just constructed facilities that no activities is actually taking place in some of those activities. I just want to find out from the department what activities are actually taking place in some of these feedlots that they're talking about. Because if there's a custom feedlot there, local farmers should be able to support that custom feedlot either by taking their cows there for about a period of not more than 120 and take it themselves to go sell it to the market, or do they actually buy the calves or whatever from farmers and process them and go sell them directly to the market, or what relation? Because last time we had that farmers would pay an amount of 800 rand to have their cows kept in there, but farmers were complaining that there's no value for money because their cows go there a bit meaty, they come out, without any meat left in them. I just want to check, how is this thing actually contributing to our farmers? Because where I am, the feedlot that I visited, there's no positive contribution that they're making into our farmers. Ke lebogile Ntate Mandela for that. Ke tla intshwarela network ya ka e very poor mo ke leng teng.
No, no worries, Ntate. We're just happy that you've been able to make your input. Honorable Memahlo.
Honorable Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, you may proceed.
Honorable Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
loud and
Chairperson,
clear, you may
I think thank you very much. Chairperson, what I wanted to say is that when I was realized that there is a sort of fear like from the presenter that we need to be very careful in implementing these things. Each and everything, Honorable Chairperson, it must have time frame on how you implement it. We need to follow the procedures that bookkeeping principles, which is ISO 13, and this and that, without following the right procedures. We like to stress to say, let's communicate properly to our people. Let us not bring fear to us as members of parliament that we need to be very careful, this and that. We need them to tell us what did they do, when and how. That is what our people want. And I think you, Comrade, Honorable Chair, that they have said a mouthful, we have listened to them. With regard to the issue of feedlots, Chairperson, we once visited KZN. We found that there was a feedlot that was built by the department with a lot of money, which is not operational. I don't know if really indeed we'll go around the country and see those type of things that we wasted a lot of money and implementing some of those type of projects which are not operational, are not assisting our communities. We all remember that in communal areas, Chairperson, there are lots of cattle from our own people where if the feedlot is working, these people can make an impact in our economy by making sure that the auctions go there and they sell their cattle, and the cattle they're fed exactly in the right place. I mean, they need to come up with a system on how those things should operate. Whether there is a certain amount of money that one member should contribute on a monthly basis is a system that the department must come up with. Those cattle can be looked after and those people can make a fortune out of it. So we think that it's properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Marshall. Mamun Babama. Pankomo, Kangeba.
Sorry, Chair. I don't have much to say. I've been covered by my colleagues. But what I'd like to just reiterate is that we as a committee will need to be very close to the processes on the ground, as told by Ms. Zanele Sihlangu in Mpumalanga. She has already told us about the complexities to the Rietfontein Farm dwellers project. And we will be keeping a very close eye on those. I would just like her to know that, so that when we do our oversight, she must be ready for, for it. And then to the National Red Meat Development Program as well in the Eastern Cape, KZN, and the other province. We will also be keeping an eye on that. As Mem Macho has said, we went to KZN and we found an empty ground that was supposed to be a feedlot. So we would also like to reiterate that we will be keeping a close eye on this as a committee. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mbabama. Agbare Breed.
Dankie baie, voorsitter. Chairperson, I would like to second what Honorable Steyn said in terms of a database. I think this is continually, and I think just our engagements this morning have proven that we need somewhere where we can track these claims, and I fully support that we have this, so that in fact, and I think that speaks to what we've said from the department as well in terms of the silo approach that we see within the entities and within the greater department. Chairperson, my fear is, and it's not necessarily a question, but my fear is that we are not seeing the impact on the ground of with respect to feedlots. How is the department monitoring feedlots, if I can call it that for lack of a better word? How are we ensuring? Memaklo mentioned that we were at KZN and we saw that we had the department, we communicated one thing and being on the ground and seeing a different thing. And my assumption is that somewhere between those two, somebody's lying. How are we actually monitoring? How are we ensuring that that which is being reported is what we're seeing there? As Honorable Montwele also said, is he was at a feedlot and the cows that went there meaty were actually skinny. And that is my fear, Chairperson. And then also the presenter touched on NAMAC, and I would like to know how the transitional period to NAMAC, these new 7 months, how would that actually, what will NAMAC's role with the department be? How will they actually have this working agreement, to actually ensure that we get services to the ground, if I can call it that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Agbare Breed. Ndabezitha, Kosenkulu.
Thank you, Chairperson. I don't have something to say with regards to the issue of the land claim in Mpumalanga, simply because there is a lot to be investigated and be brought forward to the portfolio committee chair. But on the issue of the feedlot, as other members of the portfolio committee have raised, it's very concerning to see that the department has a dream of assisting our communal livestock owners in dealing with the issue of starving cattle in the rural areas. It's important, Chairperson, that something be done to be sped up to assist the livestock owners, so that they could, even when they slaughter their beasts for functions, they eat what is of good size and taste and value. Even those that will be selling their livestock to maybe raise funds for their kids to pay for their school fees or in the universities and colleges. But Chairperson, that's all I could say anyway. Thank you.
Kosenkulu, asibulele Ndabezitha. The Honorable Mamotwede. Mamochwete. Ntate Masipa.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the presenter of the NIMC. Chair, I have been really indicating that I'm a full supporter of the feedlot, but you know, after the presentation, we have asked the question. I'm talking now the presentation of the by the feedlot by the custom feedlot. We obviously they mentioned that there were cattle that were dying and there were people that were losing jobs. We asked the question with regards to how many cattle really died from this feedlot, and so far we haven't really received an answer to that. And the question of how many workers lost their jobs, we haven't really gotten an answer regarding that. So this is, you know, the starting points that, you know, the starting point where I'm a bit worried about this program. And secondly, NIMC has been found wanting with regards to procurement, especially with regards to addressing this feedlot, the red meat program that they have been running. There has been cited a number of irregular expenditures that were coming from that particular department. And the question for me is that is the NIMC capacitated enough to ensure that there are no irregular expenditure, their processes are fine, the supply chain is beefed up in order to ensure that they comply with the PFMA. Secondly, obviously, is with regards to obviously the challenges that this custom feedlot had. Is what happened between the time when the feedlot custom came to present to us up till now in terms of the feedlot. What is happening? I think we didn't get an understanding as to what is happening right now on the ground with regards to this particular program. I would really appreciate if the department or the gentleman that just presented to us can just give us indication as to what is really happening on this feedlot. I definitely agree with Honorable Montwedi that really the program is not really as what we expected it to be at the moment. The feedback are not really quite positive about this particular feedlot. I would really appreciate if we can get an update as to what is happening to this feedlot on the ground, as there has been no support going through this feedlot as a result of the problems between the NIMC and the ARC. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ntate Masipa. Any other honorable member on the platform who may wish to pose a question? Tate Matias? Any other member? Thank you, honorable members. I'm found wanting and don't know what to say or ask in terms of the presentation on the Rietfontein farm dwellers. The presenter hasn't said much. I don't find anything relevant to what we asked for. And I think at this juncture, the presenter ought to go back and commit to an action process that they're gonna put in place. I mean, honorable members, how does an official of the department say to the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, I'm not gonna try because I know I will not meet the deadlines? I mean, what must we do as a committee to that? I mean, she says the farm dwellers that approached the committee because of a non-responsiveness of the department. The complainants have, or at least the complainants say that the farm dwellers of Rietfontein have been knocking at the doors of the department since 2014, or at least 2015 actually. Is there nothing that the department can tell this committee about the 6 years the department has been engaging on this matter? I really am at a loss in that, and I would really want an action plan as to what is the department going to do in terms of these farm dwellers. In regards to the feedlot, I would first and foremost want to ascertain as to how many of these feedlots are in place as to date, and what support is the department giving to these feedlots, as most of the honorable members have alluded to, that a number of them are standing empty with not much activity happening there. But also having met and engaged with these feedlot operators, there was a real need for an injection of funds into these feedlots. Now that there's been a budget of 306 million that has been put in place, 100 million per fiscal, which then will run into 100 million on the first year, 100 million on the second year, 106 million on the third year. Where will these funds be utilized? On the existing feedlots, or are there room or growth for other feedlots to be put in place? How many of the existing feedlots are in place, and how many will be supported? And can we get an understanding of each province? How many feedlots are there in a municipality or district municipality? And what is the carrying capacity of these feedlots in terms of the cattle that they are able to take at any time in period? Honorable Muntwedi speaks about a 120 days program for these cattle to be made ready into a good marketable size animal. I do recall in the past the department made a presentation on a 60 to 90 day program. Are we able to meet that target of ensuring that these animals are able to be put onto a 60 and 90 day Am I still audible, honorable members? I seem to have had a technical glitch and disappeared for some reason. Am I audible now?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. As I was asking honorable members, if these animals, Honorable Montwedi was speaking to a 120-day process in these feedlots to have these animals ready for market. But I do recall that the department had made a presentation of a 60 to 90 day program that these animals could be made ready. Now, I'd like to understand the end result out of this. If an animal is brought in at, let us take it to be about 120 kg at day 0, what will it be in terms of a 60-day program or 90-day program, or even as alluded to by Honorable Muntwedi, at a 120-day program? How much are we wanting to see this animal pick up in that duration and time that it is spent in that feedlot? Akbare Briet has spoken to the reality of animals going in, still meaty and losing a lot of weight in these feedlots. How are we going to have a turnaround strategy in correcting that so that we do see these feedlots giving some support to our communal farmers, particularly in rural areas? That would be all on my side, honorable members. We will now hand back to the first presenter on Rietfontein Farm dwellers, and then come back to the second presenter of the feedlots.
Thank you, Ndabezitha. The questions and the comments have been noted in terms of the constant feedback that we need to give to our clients. I need to mention that we are in contact with the complainant. Our last contact with him was on the 23rd of November. We are working together with the client, and we will continue to do so, not only to him, but with other clients that we are having, despite our capacity challenges in the district offices. And then the issue about the plan, the action plan, and Ndabezitha, I agree with you that we have not said much because the action plan is not there. When I sat with province, I said we cannot just give an action plan because we have been asked by yourselves to come and explain why there's slow progress here. And I committed that we are working on a process wherein we will have a clear work plan. And I'm happy that committee members are indicating that they will do an oversight here. And it will be very beneficial for us that you come and hear for yourself what we are talking about from the people that are there. What we do not want to do is to add on the problem. There's a huge problem there, a very huge problem that the DG is aware of, that we still need to deal with there. There was a court matter on the same properties because there's complexity of land rights that are complex on there because the leases that we're talking to, they've acquired a certain level of land rights. Some of them have graves on the same farms because they've been there for more than 30 years now. The claimants that have claimed the properties also are claiming land rights because these properties were possessed from them when the Gwandebele government was extending the boundaries. We have the issues of the farm dwellers, as we know that they are the most disadvantaged because things happen around them and they are not involved. So we want to sit down with the commission and determine when these claims will be resolved, because in our engagement, there was no clear timelines as to when those claims will be involved. What is the kind of settlement offers that they are going to offer to these claimants? Because we cannot repeat the mistakes that we did in the past. So we are committing that we will come to the committee with a clear action plan that will be ensuring. But in the meantime, we will, for the purpose of us making sure that these long-term occupiers are feeling that we are really attending to their issue, we will look at signing with them a R1 list on the portions that they are sitting on whilst we are working on the direct disposals. Our intention is to issue them with title deeds on these portions that they are sitting on. That is our ultimate plan, and we will definitely come back to the committee with the action plan that is realistic, that we will be able to work on and ensure that we accomplish what we have planned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mamuslangu. Ntate Moshe, any responses on your end?
Enkosi kakhulu umhlali ngaphambili azulvelile. The responses to the very important questions that were raised are majorly mhlanga phambili about functionality, this current state yazo zonke ezinhlanti ezingasasebenziyo. It is quite true. Anybody who would have visited any of these centers in the last year and two would have found nothing happening. Absolutely nothing happening, for the mere reason that all of the 222 workers that were employed had been laid off because the program itself had grounded to a halt because of the institutional reasons that were presented in the earlier presentation. The response to the portfolio committee is that we're going ahead from the 1st of December. And we are advising the portfolio committee that we are bringing in to finish the program 191 of the workers who had been laid off in this program. We are bringing them back, and they are going to be deployed to the custom feedlots so that what we were doing with the National Agricultural Marketing Council can continue. And so what Honorable Matias, Honorable Mundwedi have noticed is happening on the ground, it is indeed so. It was as a result of the halting. There are one or two that I don't have as names on my fingertips right now. People, for instance, like in the Northwest, where the farmers themselves that we had organized into a secondary cooperative responsible for the governance had been going on ahead, buying their own feed from their own savings. Because what we have been doing since 2005, when this program was launched in Eastern Cape, we had been making sure that in each and every custom feedlot, there is governance, a secondary cooperative that is really led by the villagers themselves. And many of them had been saving monies from the auctions that we were assisting them to hold from time to time. And so, Chairperson, in terms of how many are these custom feedlots in State State Department, this is with NAMC, Eastern Cape, 18, KwaZulu Natal, 21, and Northwest, 4 of them, and Northern Cape, Zimbini, because when this program grounded to a halt, we had just been starting Nazo. And so I am trying to I think in terms of how many people were employed and how many people are we bringing back to finish. I've spoken to those. We had 222, we're bringing back 191 just to finish umsebenzi ebesele uqalile. Was a lot of money indeed, as Babama is actually saying, what was invested in the creation of these farmer support units, because this is a version of a farmer support unit, but that is very, very close to communities. I think there was a question that was raised also in as far as now that you are going to be bringing this 308 million, where are you going with this program? This time around, we are bringing a bigger consortium, no longer just working with NAMC. We are bringing in ARC, we are bringing in the OBP and ourselves, so that we can then expand this program beyond the Eastern Cape, KZN, in Northwest and in Northern Cape. We are going to go to all of the provinces, including Gauteng, where there are farmers, for instance, Niger, and where they can feed these animals. And so this program is going to identify farmers where they are and make sure that as in Ngomo, they are brought in a decent place where they are fed and they are gotten ready for the auction. Dr. Ngetu, if he was here, he was going to inform the portfolio committee that in the few years between 2005 and in 2018, when this program was halted, no less than 48 million was raised after bringing them in between 90 and 120 days. Was in in terms of weight, but feeding in some cases would even take up to 6 months. Because feeding capacity from one kind of a cow to another. So it is going to be a national rollout. It is saddening that this program grounded to a halt. This is why the farmers themselves, they took it upon themselves to come and voice their disfavor regarding the halting, because this is one program that was actually speaking to the assets that Utiko Uznige rural people. And so when it was disturbed, it was natural that they should actually and cry about this. But the good news is that the 1st of December is tomorrow. And Dr. Ngetu himself, I understand Dr. Ngandweni can give testimony from the side. NAMC as the national leader of this program is coming back. And lastly, let me emphasize there is already a master plan that has been developed that we are prepared to share with the portfolio committee. That actually then tells where exactly are we going to be start, and because we want to solidify umsebenzi that were already started in these 4 provinces, Eastern Cape, solidify umsebenzi KZN, solidify in Northwest, and solidify umsebenzi in Northern Cape under this broader collaboration with the ARC and the EOBP. And I think ndinganikela ngokumhlanga phambili ku Dr. Ngangweni in terms of bringing in leadership, how far they are, since we have signed already a service level agreement for this work to continue again.
Thank you, Dr. Swart. Any further responses?
Dr. Ngangweni or Mrs. Msoma, if you could just speak to those 2 points. The Mbondile Msoma ukona pindanganisweni no Mr. Nyodo. I think that is simply we as a muteta. I think he must unmute.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you also to DDG, and good afternoon to the honorable members and the colleagues from the department and my colleagues from the other entities. Thank you for the opportunity to respond to some of the questions that have been raised. I think Dr. Swartz has covered the issue around the challenges that the program has experienced over the past year or two. And he has also indicated what the future holds. And that future will be coordinated by the Agricultural Research Council. And the details of the plan in terms of when the ARC takes over after the 7 months of transition, those details are contained in a comprehensive business plan, which I recall that it was shared with the honorable members. But that document can be made available again. It can be resent. Maybe to respond to some of the questions that pertain to the NMC specifically, Honorable Chair. And I will answer some of them, and then I will ask through you, Chair, for Ms. Musoma, who's the Senior Manager responsible for the program, to just add where I may have missed something. With regards to the question from Honorable Briet regarding how do we measure impact, given the fact that there has been some anecdotal information that has emerged over the past year or two when the program has been facing challenges, which puts into question whether the program has really made an impact. And I think Dr. Swartz has alluded to the fact that some of the gains that we have seen on the program have unfortunately been affected negatively by the halting of the program over the past year. And I think the reasons behind that have been articulated. But coming back to the question of how do we measure impact, we have quarterly reports that we produce on the program, which we share with the department, or during the time when our contract was still in place before September last year. So we're going to continue with that reporting process to the department in terms of the new SLA now that we are managing, which restricts us to the 7 months of transition. So we will produce reports and basically indicate what impact has been made during our time in the program. And I believe that the ARC also, when they take over, they will have those regular reports that they will be producing. And Honorable Chair, we can also share the previous reports that show that kind of impact to the Portfolio Committee. And as indicated, some of those reports had been previously forwarded, but we can also resend those. And there's no question, Honorable Chair, on the fact that the program has made visible impact on the livelihoods of communal farmers. And I think that story, full story, is contained in the reports that I've alluded to. There is a question from Honorable Masipa about the capacity of the NAMC in terms of supply chain, given the fact that there were some findings that came up in terms of supply chain challenges and irregular expenditure. Those details, again, are indeed contained in the annual report, which we presented a few weeks ago to the members of the Portfolio Committee. And at that meeting, we did commit that we have a what we call an audit finding matrix, which we use to track progress in terms of putting much stronger controls in place to make sure that there are no repeat findings in terms of supply chain. And we also, as an organization, have prepared a separate report which we have presented to the department, specifically related to findings around the program itself, the National Red Meat Program. And next to the findings, we've also indicated what action plans we have put in place to make sure that we sort out those findings. So there is a plan to make sure that these are not repeated going forward. So that's the commitment we can make to the committee. If I can, through your chair, ask Mrs. Musoma to just respond on the matter around what will be the specific role of the NAMC during the 7 months of transition. So what are some of the activities that we'll be embarking on? And also, yeah, I believe the question around the future has been answered. I think the only question that is remaining is the specific role of the NAMC during the 7 months. Through your chair, if I may ask Mrs. Musoma to come in.
Thank you, Dr. Ngabweni. Good afternoon, Chairperson and honorable members. In terms of what the NMC will implement during the 7 months, the first thing was to bring back the NRMDP personnel, and they'll be starting to work on the 1st of December, which is tomorrow. And the processes have been done. We've engaged the personnel. They are ready to start tomorrow. And we have to conduct an on-site assessment throughout the 3 provinces. This is to take stock of what is on the ground and to be able to come up with the activities that will assist us in reviving the project, since we were not on the ground for almost a year. This assessment will be done by the NAMC, the department, as well as ARC, to ensure that we also work together in finalizing the business plan that will be implemented with the budget that has been discussed in this meeting. The second activity is to do a stakeholder engagement where we engage the farmers, the Farm Association, and the local program stakeholders on the issues pertaining the resuscitation of the NRMDP. This is also to allay the fears from the farmers where they are feeling that the project is collapsing. It's just to bring that confidence and to ensure that they are brought on board in terms of what the project wants to achieve and how we are assisting them. We also want to finalize the construction of the custom feeding programs through the supply chain processes, and also in line with the relevant legislation and other prescripts. We will be also facilitating formal and informal market access, and we'll also procure feed and veterinary remedies just to ensure that we are able to feed the cattle and practice animal husbandry, ensuring animal health during these 7 months. And by these activities, we'll ensure that the project is revived and is able to be transferred to ARC for the bigger implementation in collaboration with NAMC and OBP, as well as the department. This is the plan for the transitional plan, Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further responses? Acting DG, Mamu Sadiki. Any
Thank you.
further? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. There are no further comments from my side, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamu Sadiki and officials of the department, and to our presenters on both presentations of Rietfontein farm dwellers, as well as the feedlots. Any further questions of clarity, honorable members, on the responses? Any follow-up questions? Thank you, honorable members. That then, honorable members, concludes the presentations that we had for today's session. We will now proceed to our last item of today's agenda, that being the minutes of the 16th and the 23rd of November 2021. And I ask of the Secretariat to put the presentations on the screen. Thank you, honorable members. Yeah, with the minutes of the 16th of November 2021, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Thank you, honorable members. Can I have a mover for the adoption of the minutes of the 16th of November 2021? Honorable Stein.
Chairperson, I move that the adoption of the minutes is through reflection of the meeting.
Thank you, Honorable Stein moves for the adoption of the minutes of the 16th of November 2021 as a true reflection of the meeting we had. Can we have a second, honorable members? Memahlo?
Honorable Matlu will second the move, Honorable Chair, for the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlo seconds the adoption of the minutes of the 16th of November 2021 as a true reflection of the meeting we had. Honorable members, are there any matters arising? Page 1. Memahlo, your hand is up. Any matters arising?
I'm sorry, it's the my late.
All right, thank you. Page 2 on matters arising. Page 3. Page 4, still on matters arising. Page 5. Thank you, honorable members. With no matters arising, I take it that the minutes of the 16th of November 2021 have been duly adopted. Let us now move on to our last set of minutes of the 23rd of November 2021. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Thank you, honorable members. Are there any movers for the adoption of the minutes of the 23rd of November 2021?
In the third, 16, September 9 and 16. Honorable Chairperson, Mematlo here.
Yes, Mematlo.
I will move for the adoption of the minutes as presented as a reflection of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlo. Moves for the adoption of the minutes of the 23rd of November 2021 as a true reflection of the meeting we had. And we have a second, honorable members.
Thandeka Mpapama, I second the adoption of the minutes, Chair, of the 23rd of November 2021. Thank you.
Kangeba, Siyabulela Mpanko, for seconding for the adoption of the minutes. Honorable members, any matters arising on the minutes of the 23rd of November 2021? Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Thank you, honorable members. With no matters arising, we take it that the minutes of the 23rd of November 2021 have been duly adopted. With that said, honorable members, that brings us to the end of our session for today. I do want to bring to the chariot the last input that came from the complainants in the chat group, which was not noted, and it is submitted by Shanaz Arnold on the District 6 matters. came in at 11:24 a.m. Zarina Ali, I want to express my deepest gratitude to Comrade Asa for assisting me to be able to hear the Portfolio Committee's proceedings. She used her landline phone to call me and put it next to her computer so that I could listen, as I could not make a connection here in this environment. I am forced to leave. Thank you to Comrade Asa. Your commitment to the process is appreciated. Sarina Ali, my input to the way forward for the process is that the Portfolio Committee must definitely be included to oversee the development of District 6. 2, the claimants should be informed how the building process of the outstanding claimant homes will proceed by getting claimant lists in order and inform claimants where they are on the list and an indication of when they can expect to be allocated. And thorough investigation into how the 353 million given to the trust, as communicated by Mr. Kelvin Naidu of the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform in a radio interview, was spent. Thank you once again. I just wanted honorable members to read that for the Secretariat to also be able to capture that, since this is a recorded meeting of the Portfolio Committee. Ma'am Babapma, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair. I went out for a minute, so I'm not sure if this was spoken to, but UDM Squatcha had said that this is the last meeting of the Portfolio Committee. And I'd just like to correct that, because according to the calendar, next week is our last meeting.
You took that one right out of my lips, Honorable Obama. I was gonna actually correct that. I was also had that understanding that our last meeting, honorable members, will be next week, Tuesday, on the 7th of December. But let me thank the department officials, as led by the Deputy Minister, Honorable Squatcha, as well as the acting DG, being Mayor Sadiki, and all officials of the department that availed themselves for this morning session of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. We also want to thank the Land Claims Commissioner and the CLCC team for availing themselves to partake in these engagements on the District 6 land claims, as well as the Worcester Land Claims that we were able to engage on. This, honorable members, is highly appreciated by the complainants and the claimants of District 6, and they look unto us as public representatives that we ensure that all the claims are settled and finalized. And we are grateful of the input and the robust engagement that you had today in dealing with these matters. We will also like to thank the department, particularly on the presentation of Rietfontein Farm dwellers, as well as the report on the National Red Meat Custom Feedlot Development Program. We appreciate the 308 million that has been injected into the coffers to revive this program and see it delivering for the most needy of our people in particular in communal rural areas. Honorable members, I sincerely thank you for your participation and your engagement in today's session. I wish you well for the rest of the day, and remind you that we do have a sitting in the National Assembly, a hybrid plenary that will be sitting at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day and the week ahead, as today I celebrate the 3rd birthday party of my twins, Nonhlanhla and Kgolihlahla's birthday. So I will enjoy the cake on your behalf, honorable members. Have a great week ahead. Send our greetings and love to your loved ones. And please continue to adhere to COVID regulations. Most interesting is the new variant of Omicron that has been found, which has led South Africa and our frontline states being banned, unfairly so, and damaging to our economy. And we continuously call on you as public representatives to make a call to our people to vaccinate, stay safe, and ensure that they continue to wear their masks in public spaces and adhere to social distancing and sanitizing at all times. Thanks to our team behind the scenes, that is the Secretariat, content advisors, the researchers, as well as communications and logistics, and all that make this process indeed a swift program for us to be able to engage in this virtual platforms. The meeting, honorable members, stands adjourned. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Chair.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.
Of course.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Molweni bahlali, ni right?
Se right ngwana molao.
Hayi.